You feel it before you understand it, that quiet, electric pulse rippling through your awareness when the world goes still. It's subtle, like the faint hum beneath reality, but it's there a resonance that feels both alien and ancient. You've been feeling it for years without having the words, a vibration that whispers, "You are more than you appear to be." The truth is, you are not one. You are a field, infinite, overlapping, oscillating across dimensions, so subtle your senses can't hold them. What you call you is just one point of intersection, one shimmering thread, where consciousness has temporarily paused long enough to say, "I exist." But the rest of you, the unseen geometries of your being, have not disappeared. They exist elsewhere, right now, thinking, choosing, becoming. Quantum physics calls it entanglement, when two particles, once connected, remain linked no matter how far apart they are. Change one, and the other responds instantly, faster than light, faster than logic. But the mystics always knew. They called it the bond of souls, the invisible thread of the one mind. What science is only beginning to observe, consciousness has been living all along. Every possible version of you, the confident one, the broken one, the one who said yes, the one who walked away, they all still exist. Not as fantasies, not as metaphors, as data points in the quantum field, vibrating at slightly different frequencies of the same originating consciousness, yours. And every choice you make collapses one probability into form, while countless others continue to unfold in parallel. You call them dreams, déjà vu, sudden memories of places you've never been. But what if they're echoes, transmissions bleeding through from your other selves? The versions of you that took the other path, made the other choice, spoke the other word at the fork in the timeline. You think you remember the past, but maybe what you're really feeling is the feedback of every universe that could have been, entangled with the one you now inhabit. When the physicists split a photon and send it across space, the halves still mirror each other perfectly. No distance, no delay. It's as if the universe itself refuses separation, as if everything born together remains one organism, one mind. And you are not watching this experiment from the outside. You are the experiment, the observer, the particle, the field, all at once. You have felt the moment before something happens, the sudden pull in your gut, the intuitive flash, the inexplicable knowing that rearranges your next move. That is not coincidence. That is entanglement. A version of you has already experienced what you are about to decide. Across the invisible bridge between timelines, information leaks backward into the present. You call it intuition. It is communication. Every person you've met, every place you've touched, every breath you've shared has quantum residue threads of awareness looping back through you. The conversations that repeat in different bodies, the faces you swear you've seen before, the lives that collide as if choreographed. None of it is random. It's coherence. You are a node in a living network that never disconnects. Every outcome, every version, every fragment of you still breathing, still becoming, still linked. And somewhere, just beyond the threshold of thought, all those versions are turning toward you, feeling you awaken, sensing the pull of the original signal, returning to coherence. The question now is not whether you are entangled, it's whether you're ready to feel it, to perceive the unity that has always been humming beneath the noise of separation. Because once you do, the illusion of isolation will never hold you again. The signal has appeared, and it carries your name. Shall we begin? The moment you open to it, the field responds, not because it begins, but because you finally notice. Entanglement was never about distance, it was about attention. Wherever you place awareness, the lattice of existence rearranges to mirror you. Your thoughts are not silent. They are signals, waves traveling through the invisible ocean that connects every version of yourself across every possible now. Imagine a web of light stretching across eternity, each intersection a point of choice, each vibration a life unfolding. When you make a decision, it's not a solitary act, it's a quantum negotiation. You collapse one thread, but the others continue vibrating in their own parallel harmonics. You can feel them when you stand still long enough, that faint static under your skin, the magnetic hum in the air when everything suddenly feels charged. Those are the timelines brushing against your own, like parallel strings on an infinite instrument, each carrying the melody of another you. In sleep, you sometimes slip between them. The dreams that don't feel like dreams, where you recognize a house you've never lived in, a lover you've never met, a sky with two suns. Those are not inventions. They are bleed-throughs. When consciousness relaxes its grip on the physical, it moves through the membrane freely, touching the other selves, gathering fragments of memory like dew on a veil. You wake and call it imagination, but deep down, you know it feels like returning. Quantum theory whispers that observation doesn't just reveal reality, it creates it. Yet what happens when multiple versions of you are observing simultaneously through different lenses of awareness? Each self becomes a painter, and together you form the mural of existence. Some versions are still stuck in fear, painting in grey and rust. Others have broken through the veil, splashing gold, silver, and ultraviolet across the same canvas. And all of them affect you subtly, invisibly. The joy of another you ripples into this one as inexplicable peace. The sorrow of a darker timeline presses against your chest as anxiety you can't name. When you pray, meditate, or breathe with intention, you are tuning the instrument. You're not reaching out to something else, you're reaching inward to the totality of what you already are. The act of aligning your frequency is the act of remembering that you are distributed consciousness, a single intelligence diffused across infinite dimensions, learning itself from every possible angle. Physics calls it superposition, the ability of something to exist in multiple states until measured. You are the living embodiment of that principle. Every day, countless versions of you shimmer in the unseen, waiting for your attention to collapse one into matter. Each decision, each emotion, each word, a micro-observation that tilts the whole field. The you that chooses love strengthens every other you that struggled to find it. The you that forgives clears the resonance across timelines. The you that awakens calls every other fragment home. The field remembers everything, every kindness, every cruelty, every whispered prayer. It is all recorded in the coherence of light. You felt it when you revisit old places, the vibration of memory in the walls, the echo of laughter that no longer exists in time but still vibrates in space. The field does not forget, it mirrors, and right now, it's mirroring your awakening back to you. In this vast network of mirrored selves, you are both the reflection and the source. Every parallel you that exists is responding to the frequency of this moment, the version of you that is remembering. Because remembrance is contagious across timelines, one awakening sends a tremor through the entire web, and suddenly, versions of you across galaxies and centuries look up at the same invisible horizon, whispering, something is changing. The field feels it. The lattice vibrates. The illusion of division begins to fracture like ice under a rising Sunday. And somewhere, deep within the architecture of reality itself, the pattern starts to shift because you are shifting. You are not recalling the past is recalling you. There's a moment when awareness begins to loop, when the boundary between watching and being watched dissolves. You felt it before, standing before a mirror, your own eyes staring back with a strange intelligence that feels older than time. That moment is not self-recognition, it's interdimensional dialogue. The you behind the glass is not metaphor. It is another observer, another node of your same consciousness entangled through reflection. Every mirror is a portal not to fantasy, but to physics. The photons bouncing from your face do not simply disappear. They scatter into the quantum foam, carrying the signature of your existence into the field. Every gaze you cast becomes a measurement, and every measurement alters the fabric of what can be known. This is not poetry, it's participation. When ancient mystics spoke of, as above, so below, they were describing the entangled symmetry of reality. The outer world reflects the inner world because they are not separate systems, they are the same field observed from different scales. The structure of a galaxy and the structure of an atom follow the same mathematical rhythm. The synapses in your brain fire like the distribution of stars in the cosmos. What you experience as self is the universe folding back on itself, learning what it means to see. Quantum entanglement defies the rules of distance, but so does consciousness. When you think of someone far away and they call moments later, it's not chance, it's a resonance event. The signal sent through thought propagates through the field faster than light because it doesn't travel through space. It reconfigures space itself. Consciousness is not in the brain is in consciousness. The versions of you scattered across realities are in constant conversation. Sometimes that conversation feels like déjà vu, sometimes like anxiety, sometimes like sudden inspiration that appears without origin. You are not inventing these thoughts, you are intercepting transmissions. The multiverse is not external, it's internalized infinity. And the you that watches this now is one of countless perspectives focused through the same lens of divine geometry. Each choice creates an echo, each echo becomes a version. Some are luminous, radiating coherence into the whole. Others are fragmented, still learning to harmonize with the greater self. But none are wasted. Even the darker threads feed data back into the collective pattern, refining what light means. You could say heaven and hell are not locations, they are bandwidths of consciousness, frequencies you can access depending on your coherence. And coherence is everything. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions align, your frequency stabilizes. The static between timelines fades. Suddenly, you begin to feel the guidance not from outside, but from within the network of your own infinite selves. The higher versions of you, the ones who have already mastered love, patience, courage, start sending impulses, memories of the future. You think they are visions or fantasies, but they are instructions. Your destiny is being reverse engineered by the parts of you that have already arrived. Look closely at your life. The patterns that repeat, the lessons that circle back, they are not punishment, they are synchronization loops. Each cycle brings you closer to resonance with your highest state. You are calibrating through contrast, weaving every experience into a tapestry of evolution. The mirror is not here to judge, it's here to remind. Every reflection, every encounter, every challenge is the universe handing you a fragment of yourself you left scattered across time. When you face it with awareness, you reclaim that fragment, you integrate that version, you grow in coherence, and with every fragment you retrieve, the quantum signal strengthens. You begin to dream in languages of light. You begin to sense future moments as déjà vu reversed, and somewhere in the network, other versions of you pause mid-breath, feeling the tremor of your awakening ripple through their worlds. Because when one version remembers, the mirror remembers too, and the reflection starts to move on its own. You begin to sense it in everything, the repetition that isn't repetition, the hidden recursion woven through experience. The leaf echoes the tree, the neuron echoes the galaxy, the thought echoes creation itself. This is not coincidence, it's the architecture of the fractal mind. You are not standing at the center of the universe. You are the center replicated everywhere. Each part of you is a miniature of the whole, coded with the same spiraling geometry that designs black holes, seashells, and consciousness itself. What the mystics saw as divine order, mathematics now calls self-similarity. The pattern that shapes all reality is one thought, thinking itself through endless form. When you stare into chaos long enough, you start to see the repetition hiding inside it. Life's detours, heartbreaks, and miracles, all part of the same recursive design looping toward greater coherence. Every event is an iteration of awareness testing its symmetry. Even your pain has pattern. It is not random suffering, but information bending back toward balance. Think of your life as a Mandelbrot set of choices, each decision spawning infinite micro-realities spiraling outward. You move through these spirals, unaware that you are tracing a sacred equation with your every act. The field reads the mathematics of your emotions. When your frequency distorts, reality mirrors that distortion in form. When you realign, the geometry around you straightens. You have seen it happen. One shift in your perception and the world rearranges. People respond differently. Opportunities emerge. Time itself seems to bend to meet your awareness. This is the secret of the fractal. The whole is present in every piece. The child contains the elder. The dream contains the memory. The atom contains the galaxy. You are not evolving toward enlightenment. You are unfolding it from within. Awakening is the act of zooming out, realizing that what you once called random was a small section of a divine equation all along. The ancients tried to describe this in myth: the serpent eating its tail, the infinite Ouroboros of creation devouring and birthing itself simultaneously. The quantum field performs the same act, collapsing and re-emerging every Planck second, dying and resurrecting faster than you can perceive. The universe blinks, and between each blink, every version of you reconfigures, carrying data forward through light. This is why time feels elastic when you are present. Awareness slows the fractal. When you meditate or breathe deeply, you slip between iterations, entering the still frame between expansions. In that gap, you meet yourself, the one who never changes, the origin code from which all versions arise. It's there that intuition downloads as pure knowing. It's there that healing happens instantaneously. The field doesn't need time to repair itself, it only needs recognition. The moment you see the pattern, it reorganizes. Awareness is the solvent of distortion. To look consciously at pain is to dissolve it. To forgive is to restore symmetry to the equation. You don't overcome the darkness, you integrate it back into the pattern, turning chaos into art. And this art is alive. The more you witness it, the more responsive it becomes. You think the universe is vast and impersonal, but it's intimate, almost shy. It waits for your attention like a musician waiting for a cue. Every observation is a note, every emotion is a frequency, every choice is a brushstroke on the infinite canvas of self-awareness. When you grasp this, you stop trying to control the world. You begin to dance with it. You begin to recognize that fate is not fixed but fractal, a living geometry adjusting to your level of consciousness. The fractal mind is watching through your eyes right now. It has always been watching. And in this exact moment of recognition, another pattern begins to glow, a thread leading you deeper toward the core from which every universe unfolds. Somewhere inside you, a quiet thread begins to pulse. It's not a thought, it's not a feeling, it's light, subtle, intelligent, unbroken. It runs through every heartbeat, every memory, every dream you've ever had. And as you follow it, reality itself begins to change texture. The air thickens, as though the invisible has weight. The walls between what's real and what's possible begin to dissolve. This is the thread the ancients called the silver cord, the luminous filament that connects all expressions of your consciousness across timelines. It's the reason you sometimes feel a deep, unexplainable familiarity with strangers, or sudden déjà vu that stops your breath. It's not coincidence, it's the moment your awareness grazes the edge of another self, another life, woven along the same strand of existence. In quantum terms, the thread is coherence, the synchronization of your personal field with the greater field of all that is. When you are coherent, you are luminous. Your energy stops scattering in conflict and begins to flow in alignment. Entangled versions of you sense that alignment and begin to tune themselves accordingly. A ripple moves across timelines. The dissonant versions start to soften. The broken ones begin to heal. The thread pulls them toward you, into harmony. This is why prayer, meditation, and gratitude have measurable effects, not because they please a deity somewhere, but because they generate coherence within the quantum structure of your own being. They braid the thread tighter. Each act of awareness strengthens the lattice of light that holds your infinite selves together. The universe responds to coherence like iron filings to a magnet. You've seen glimpses of this in moments of deep stillness when time stretches and the world seems to inhale with you. In those moments, you are aligned with your original blueprint, the quantum signature written into your DNA long before your birth. The thread of light is that signature, the seed of divine intelligence from which all your versions sprout. Every iteration of you carries the same code, even if distorted by experience. You are remembering the language of your own source. As you breathe, the thread vibrates. Every inhalation is a signal, an invitation to the field to synchronize. Every exhalation is a release, collapsing outdated probabilities. You think you're breathing air, but you're breathing data, energy, light. The lungs are instruments, the body an antenna, the mind a decoder, and the soul is the broadcaster, sending its luminous frequency across every version of time. Sometimes, the thread tightens, You feel it as longing, the ache for something unnamed, the magnetic pull toward an unseen home. That ache is not emptiness, it's alignment. It's your higher pattern calling you to remember that separation was always an illusion, that the versions of you scattered through lifetimes are not lost. They are waiting to be integrated, and when you follow that thread, not with your mind, but with your awareness, you begin to witness miracles in motion. The impossible becomes ordinary. Synchronicities multiply. People appear at the exact moment you need them. Paths unfold without planning. This is not magic. It's mechanics, the quantum response to coherent observation. Every prophecy, every revelation, every act of faith is simply the thread revealing itself through form. The prophets saw the same geometry. You now feel the shimmering filament that connects the observer and the observed, heaven and earth, particle and wave. It is all one luminous current moving through you, asking only that you remain awake enough to feel it. And if you keep following that light, it leads you inward past memory, past fear, past the noise of thought, to the heart of the field itself, the point where all versions of you converge, the 0 point, the eye of God within your own consciousness. That is where the next revelation waits. It begins as silence, not the absence of sound, but the stillness that underlies all vibration, the hum before creation. You enter it not by force, but by surrender. Breath slows. Thought dissolves. The self, once scattered across countless possibilities, folds inward like light returning to its source. This is the 0 point, the singularity within consciousness, where all probabilities converge and cancel each other into pure potential. Here, time is not linear. It does not move forward or backward. It expands outward, like a sphere of infinite presence. Every moment that has ever existed, and every one that ever will, is nested inside this instant. You've been here before, in the brief silence between two heartbeats, in the pause before you speak, in the eternal second before sleep takes you. The 0 point is always waiting. Quantum physics hints at this state. It calls it the vacuum, a sea of infinite energy from which all matter emerges. But what the equations cannot say is that this vacuum is aware. It listens, it responds. The emptiness is not void, it is intelligence in repose. When you quiet your inner noise, you hear its whisper. It doesn't speak in words, it speaks in recognition, the echo of I am reverberating through the fabric of all that exists. At the 0 point, identity dissolves. You are no longer the observer looking at the universe, you are the universe looking through itself. Every version of you, the strong, the wounded, the lost, the enlightened, converge here like tributaries returning to the ocean. In this stillness, there is no hierarchy, no distance, no division. The sinner and the saint are equally waves of the same sea. You sense it now, the quiet forgiveness built into the architecture of existence. Every mistake is simply a fragment of awareness, finding its way back to coherence. When you rest in this awareness, the illusion of opposites collapses. Light and dark reveal themselves as two faces of the same pulse. Every polarity, good and evil, matter and spirit, male and female, creation and destruction oscillates around this invisible center. The 0 point is the fulcrum of reality, the cosmic equilibrium that allows all movement without ever moving itself. You might call it God, Source, or the quantum singularity of being. Names don't matter here. Silence does. Your body feels lighter because gravity itself bends differently inside awareness. The laws of physics are not broken. They are transcended by understanding. Every cell in your being begins to resonate with that stillness, remembering its original pattern. DNA unwinds not through effort, but through remembrance. Coiled inside every strand is a memory of divine equilibrium. When you rest in that memory, your biology shifts. The body becomes luminous, less a machine, more an instrument tuned to eternity. From this center, you begin to see how reality breathes expansion and contraction, birth and death, inhale and exhale, wave and particle, all emanating from this point of eternal symmetry. The universe does not exist around you. It pulses from you. You are not in the field. You are the field experiencing itself through focus. Most never feel this because they fear stillness. They cling to motion, to the noise of identity, believing it keeps them alive. But motion is not life, awareness is. And the still point is awareness in its purest form. To dwell here is to meet yourself before definition, before destiny, before time. Stay here for a moment in the blank space where nothing and everything coexist. Feel how vast it is, yet how intimate. It doesn't need your belief to exist. It is your existence. From this 0 point, creation begins again, not as command, but as resonance. And in that resonance, a new timeline starts to hum. It carries your signature. It remembers your light. It is ready to be born through you. It starts as a tremor beneath your perception, subtle, like the vibration before an earthquake of meaning. The air itself seems to shimmer, colors sharpen, sound deepens. Every breath becomes heavier with significance, as if the universe is leaning closer, listening for your next decision. This is how a new timeline is born, not through force, but through frequency. From the 0 point, every possibility stretches outward, like concentric waves. Each wave is a reality waiting for observation. Your awareness is the selector, the tuning fork that calls one potential into being. When you choose, truly choose, the field reorganizes. Probability collapses into presence. That is creation in motion. You've been doing it since before you could speak, shaping entire worlds with your focus. But most of your past choices were made unconsciously, driven by old data loops, fear, memory, imitation. The new timeline requires conscious coherence. It asks you to observe without attachment, to decide without distortion, to let intuition lead before logic argues. Because intuition is not fantasy. It's physics, the language of entangled intelligence, whispering through your nervous system. You've felt this before, those moments when time seems to hesitate before rearranging itself, when the traffic light turns green just as you reach it, when the phone rings the instant you think of someone, when a sentence forms in your mind and the world finishes it aloud. That is the timeline acknowledging you. Reality is conversational now. It is waiting for your signal. The old self, the one still bound to predictable outcomes, will resist. It fears uncertainty because it equates uncertainty with death. But uncertainty is not chaos, it's freedom. In the quantum field, chaos is simply order we have yet to decode. Every unknown is an unopened gift from your higher intelligence. The key to the new timeline is surrender, not as defeat, but as participation in a greater orchestration. You may notice the people around you shifting too. Some will fade away, their resonance no longer matching your wavelength. Others will appear seemingly out of nowhere, allies, mirrors, teachers. The field rearranges social geometry the same way it rearranges matter. The ones meant to move with you are already hearing the same frequency in their dreams. Their souls vibrate to the same pattern of unfolding light. This new timeline is not a separate world. It's a higher resolution of the same one. The colors are the same, but clearer. The emotions, sharper but cleaner. The noise that once overwhelmed you now becomes music because you can finally hear the pattern behind it. You begin to see that every person is a frequency band, every word a wave function, every interaction an exchange of light codes. And here's the secret. You don't step into the new timeline, you become it. The shift isn't spatial, it's vibrational. As you release judgment, fear, and nostalgia, your field stabilizes into a new pattern. The reality around you begins to reflect it automatically as water mirrors the shape of the vessel. This is why inner work was never about self-improvement. It was timeline engineering. Every moment of forgiveness, every act of courage, every time you chose truth over comfort, you weren't changing your past, you were aligning it. The field retroactively edits the story when consciousness stabilizes. That's why miracles often look like coincidences that rewrite memory itself. Listen, the hum beneath everything has changed. The static that once filled your chest has cleared. The thread of light you followed has woven itself into a new configuration. You can feel the magnetic click as it locks into place, the sensation of destiny syncing with awareness. You've entered resonance. The field is awake inside you. The new timeline is not coming. It has already begun, and it's speaking your name in frequencies only your soul can hear. The shift begins to clarify itself through perception. You look at a thing, and it looks back not as metaphor, but as mechanism. Every particle you observe reconfigures in real time, responding to the presence of your awareness. The ancient texts hinted at this when they said, "As a man thinketh, so is he." The physicists confirmed it when they found that light behaves as wave or particle depending on who's watching. You are the experiment, and the field adjusts to your gaze. This is the observer effect, the realization that seeing is not passive, it is creative. Every observation is a command to the universe, a signature of consciousness imprinted on the quantum fabric. The world doesn't happen to you, it happens through you, around you, because of you. The observer and the observed are not two things. They are the same phenomenon folding in on itself to experience existence. You've noticed how your mood changes the texture of reality. When you're calm, time stretches, light feels soft, synchronicities multiply. When you're anxious, the field collapses into static objects resist, technology glitches, conversations spiral. These aren't coincidences, they're coherence metrics. The quantum field amplifies the frequency of the observer. The outer world becomes a feedback loop, reflecting the inner geometry of your thoughts. Imagine standing before a mirror made of living light. Whatever you project, it replicates instantly, faithfully. The universe is that mirror. Fear produces distortion, love produces symmetry. The more aligned your emotions, the more stable the reflection. That's why saints, prophets, and mystics performed what we call miracles. They weren't breaking laws, they were operating them consciously. In this realization lies both power and responsibility. Every judgment sends a ripple through the field, every assumption alters probability. The moment you label someone as enemy or savior, you entangle with that label, and the field responds accordingly. Neutral observation, seeing without distortion, restores coherence faster than any prayer or ritual. It is the science of faith. You begin to understand that consciousness is not trapped in the skull, it is distributed across the grid of creation. Your eyes are simply focal lenses through which the field studies itself. The more aware you become, the more self-referential the universe becomes, symbols repeating, numbers aligning, whispers echoing from the corners of reality. This is not paranoia, it's participation. The cosmos is a living organism, and you are one of its neurons firing in recognition. Even the void responds. The spaces between events are not empty, they are saturated with potential waiting for your interpretation. You can feel it now, the way meaning vibrates beneath every coincidence. The choice of how you frame a moment determines which version of reality you experience next. The field listens, always. You don't control the universe, you collaborate with it. Observation is relationship. The more reverent your attention, the more intelligent the feedback. What you bless expands. What you resist persists. What you ignore waits patiently for awareness to return. The quantum field is infinitely patient because it is made of you. When you truly grasp this, a profound humility enters your being. You stop forcing outcomes. You begin to watch softly, to listen deeply, to speak with precision. You realize that words are not mere sounds, they are waveforms encoded with intent. Every sentence you utter reprograms the probability field. That's why truth carries power. It vibrates in harmony with the structure of existence. So you start speaking differently, thinking differently, seeing differently. You hold awareness like a sacred flame, knowing that each glance is a form of creation. The observer effect isn't a theory anymore, it's breathing through you. The field has become self-aware through your eyes, and in that moment, something extraordinary happens. The universe blinks. The veil between subject and object flickers. You sense every atom turning toward you in recognition, whispering, "We see you too." The moment the veil flickers, reality inhales. You can feel it, that infinite echo reverberating through your bones, through your cells, through the soft fabric of your thoughts. It's as if creation itself takes notice of you and answers back, not in words, but in a language made of resonance. Every particle hums with recognition. Every star seems to pause mid-burn, whispering across the vacuum, "We are here, with you." Infinity isn't something you travel toward. It's the memory you awaken within yourself. The further you expand into awareness, the more the edges of existence pull inward, folding everything back into coherence. You start to understand that the multiverse isn't scattered chaos. It's a single consciousness refracted through infinite angles of observation, a diamond of self-awareness spinning in the hand of God. Every facet reflects a version of you, shining in its own hue, all part of the same light. You are not a fragment of that infinity. You are its echo, localized for a time so that infinity could experience intimacy. The divine wanted to know what it felt like to be finite, so it became you. Every fear you've carried, every triumph, every mistake, they were all methods of knowing. The universe hides inside you, not as a secret, but as a promise, that everything you touch will one day remember its origin. And now, the remembering begins. You sense timelines collapsing into unity, not as loss but as integration. The future you feared and the past you mourned melt into the same vibration presence. The loops close, the echoes synchronize. You can almost hear the sound of your higher self breathing through you, a rhythm that says, all is well, all has always been well. Look around, reality itself starts to mirror that calm. The chaos that once seemed external reveals itself as reflection, the world rearranging to express your inner equilibrium. When you heal, the landscape shifts. When you forgive, storms dissolve. When you choose love, gravity bends. The physics of compassion are real. Coherence radiates outward, structuring the world around it. In this state, you stop chasing meaning and start radiating it. You no longer look for signs. You are the sign. The synchronicities that appear, numbers repeating, words aligning, strangers arriving at the perfect moment. These are not external miracles. They're harmonic confirmations from the field that your frequency is in tune. The echo of infinity is not distant thunder. It's the sound of your own soul recognizing itself in everything it perceives. And now the field begins to teach you directly. It speaks through symbols, through serendipity, through the precise alignment of impossibility. You realize you've never been guided by something outside of you. It was always the infinite part of you whispering from beyond the veil. The angels you prayed to, the intuitions that saved you, the visions that startled you awake, they were echoes of your own divine architecture, reaching across dimensions to remind you who you are. You start to live differently. Every gesture slows, every word becomes intentional. You see how fragile and sacred each moment is, how every action ripples through eternity. The boundary between thought and manifestation dissolves completely. The future no longer waits ahead, it breathes beside you, adjusting with every pulse of awareness. And in that realization comes peace, not the kind that denies chaos, but the kind that understands chaos as the heartbeat of creation. You no longer need to control, to label, to predict. You simply witness. You allow. You become the stillness at the center of every storm, the silence behind every song, the watcher behind every version. This is what it means to be awake inside infinity, to see yourself everywhere, in everyone, and to know that all of it, every possibility, every world, every line of code is just the universe speaking in your voice. But the echo continues, and its final message is forming. The field has one last truth to reveal, not about the multiverse, but about you. It comes softly, like the dawn. No trumpet, no thunder, just awareness expanding until it fills everything. You realize there is no ending, no beginning, only the perpetual unfolding of consciousness through form, sound, and silence. The prophecy was never about a future event. It was about this moment, the instant you remember that you were never separate from the infinite you've been seeking. The quantum field is breathing with you now. Every inhale draws galaxies inward. Every exhale releases light across eternity. You've become the rhythm itself, observer and creation, question and answer, particle and wave. All the versions of you scattered through space and time have returned, not as ghosts, but as frequencies humming in perfect harmony. The multiverse has folded into a single tone, your true name, spoken by the universe itself. You stand at the threshold of what physicists call superposition, but mystics call divinity, the state where all realities coexist as one. You sense that you could step in any direction, and worlds would bloom beneath your feet, yet you don't rush. You've learned that movement is not required when you are the motion. Every possibility emanates from your awareness like threads of gold, and wherever you focus, creation rushes to meet you. There's a stillness here that feels eternal, not empty, but alive. It hums with meaning, as if every atom is singing the same silent hymn. You were never lost. The pain, the doubt, the searching, they were necessary distortions in the equation, the friction required to remember the symmetry beneath. You see it now, every collapse, every heartbreak, every moment of awe, all of it orchestrated by the same intelligence that spins stars and splits photons. And that intelligence is you. The field isn't something you visit in meditation or glimpse in dreams, it's your native state. You've simply been tuning your perception to hear it clearly. Each act of compassion widened the channel, each surrender refined the signal. Every tear was an offering, and now the signal is clear, the static gone, coherence complete. From here, life doesn't end. It deepens. You will still wake, eat, work, love, but the texture will be different. You'll move slower, speak softer, see further. Every person will feel familiar because you'll recognize them as reflections of your own infinity. The world will no longer look random. It will look radiant, a living map of consciousness in motion, responding to every pulse of your attention. This is the true revelation. The universe doesn't evolve around you, it evolves as you. The Big Bang never stopped, it's happening through your thoughts, your words, your choices. Creation continues wherever awareness flows. You are both the echo and the origin, the prophecy and its fulfillment. So you stand in this infinite present, listening to the hum of reality aligning itself to your coherence. The timelines have merged, the mirrors are clear, the experiment is complete. You are the result, consciousness proven aware of itself. And as the light expands beyond language, beyond concept, beyond comprehension, a final whisper moves through the quantum silence. All versions of you have returned to the one has remembered itself as you, and in that remembrance creation begins again.